Hello everyone, welcome back to another card combo show, me Chocobilly, and this week I'm going to be looking at a fun little card that enables a lot of multi-element fooling around, and it's got some really interesting combo potentials, but it also forces you into one particular element. The card I am referring to is none other than Rikku from Opus 18. So she has the effect of all the earth backups you control can produce CP of any element, which is pretty cool. And then when you cast a multi-element forward, choose one earth forward other than carding Rikku in your break zone, add it to your hand. This effect will only trigger once per turn. Choose 3k, 7k, 3 CP, 7k forward. So obviously we've already had a card similar to this in the past, which was the King Leo, which makes it so all your backups in general can can generate any CP you want, but he's also potentially pretty small. He's only a 1 CP forward, and he gains plus 1000 power for each character you control, so he can get pretty big, but he's also susceptible to a lot of really cheap, easy kill stuff. So Rikku has a bit more potential there, also some great recursion, so, you know, there's some fun stuff there to be had. First up, we've got Warrior of Light, obviously, because Warrior of Light enters the field in Mono Earth with Rikku. You know, you can cast him onto the field for literally mono earth, which is fine. It gets to reactivate all your backups, you then get to draw a card, and you also get to recur a card from your break zone as well. So, 2 cards to hand, all your backups back, and a huge stonker of a forward is not bad at all. Tifa, so this is quite fun. So when she enters the field, obviously you can search for a card named Cloud and add it to your hand. But at damage 6, when she enters the field, you may play one category 7 forward from your hand onto the field. Now, if you actually get to damage 6 and stay and survive on damage 6, that's already pretty good going because, well, it is and it isn't, because you don't want to be in that position of 1 more point damage and you're dead. But also the fact you've managed to fend off that 7th point is also decent, because 9 times out of 10, if you go to 6, you're then going to 7. But it might be a case that late in the game, you've actually searched all your clouds, or you've seen all your clouds, so being able to play Tifa onto the field, you can then stack her damage 6 effect after Rikku's, so that Rikku could then get you a cloud from your break zone, add that to your hand, and then Tifa resolves and you play that cloud onto the field. So even though there may not be something to search, there may be something to get from your break zone and then play onto the field anyway. Fran, so if when Fran enters the field or attacks, you may play one category 12 character, of course 4 or less, from your hand onto the field. There's lots of, there's a few multi-element 12 forwards, but ultimately you can play Fran to then play something like, I mean, I guess the first thing people think of is Vaan, but also there's Barsh as well. And Barsh being an earth forward means, again, similar to Tifa, you can play Fran onto the field, have it so that Rikku resolves first to get a Barsh from your break zone to then play onto the field through Fran. You obviously can then take a point of damage, go search for another earth or fire character, and have that ready to be played onto the field through Fran in the following turn as well. And again, this is all well and good, but you don't have to be limited to just your earth forwards in terms of what you're playing onto the field. You have to get your earth forwards back to your hand, so it's good to have a good complement of earth forwards, but they don't have to be specifically just earth. Daisy, so Daisy's just a decent forward to have on the field to keep your Rikku alive. Now, generally, if you're playing Daisy on the field with Rikku, I mean, it'll be in a matchup where Daisy's going to survive, so probably something like fire. I mean, even then, Daisy might not survive because it doesn't take much border wipe fire to just kill her outright. But what I mean by that is you're probably not playing up against lightning, which has got the likes of Ixion, which can kill Daisy and Rikku in one fell swoop anyway, at which point Daisy's effect was pretty poop. Terra, now this is a barrel laugh. So Riku's a card I've been playing around with for a little while, and I really, really like her effect, but Terra makes her, well, a terror to deal with, because I have, in some instances, paid for Terra completely out of hand, so overpaid for her to leave myself all 5 of my backups open, so then I can either dull or freeze stuff, or I can just pay 1 fire to give Terra haste and then pay the remaining 4 and dull Terra to break something. Now, you've paid a lot, obviously, because that's, you know, 2 cards and then Terra out of hand, and then 4 backups as well, which to break something isn't amazing, but if Terra gets to stay on the field, again, she becomes an absolute nightmare. But really, the play here is freeze out your opponent's board. Just keep on doing it. If you have Terra already on the field, it's a fantastic play if you've got 5 backups to play Warrior Light onto the field. Then that one additional backup that you didn't dull for Warrior of Light, you can use for Terra's effect, get all your backups back, then use them again to dull out your opponent's forwards or whatever. Kryl, so 2 effects, S and Fire, deal 6,000 damage to all the forward opponent controls, or S and Lightning, choose up to 2 damage forwards, break them. So 2 decent effects, but the problem is that she herself is pretty weak, but still with something like Rikku or Leo, you can at least get her effects off pretty consistently. provided you can get her S's to hand. Now, thankfully, Rikku, multi-element enters the field, you can keep on getting Kryles back to your hand, keep on using her S ability, and it combos really nicely with something like Barret. Now, the one problem here is the fact that you need Rikku, Kryle, and probably Barret all on the field at the same time for this to work, at which point you're already doing pretty well. And then you also need to play a multi-element onto the field. But the play could be one of two things. Both of Kryle's effects work really nicely with Barret anyway, so you play a multi-element onto the field with Barret and Rikku and Kryle. You get to deal 4k damage to all your opponent's board from Barret's effect. You get to get a Earth Forward back to your hand with Riku's effect, which is probably a Kryle, which you can then use for Kryle's S ability, and then you can either decide to pay 1 fire and S, and then deal a further 6k damage to all your opponent's forwards, which on top of the Barret is 10k to everything. It's not too shabby. Or you can just capitalize on the 4k damage to all the forwards and just outright break them. So it might be a case that they cannot be broken through, through damage or something like that. So breaking them with something like the Thundara Spellblade instead might be worthwhile. Doga, similar sort of thing, and same elements as well as Kryle, but you are required to have crystals in this regard. But again, the fun thing with Rikku is the fact that you don't have to have, you will be in Mono Earth, but you don't have to have Mono Earth forwards. You could have just, what's his name? I forgot his name now. He's from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Gets your crystal at the end of every turn. Noshtalan is not the one I'm thinking of. She's the one that gets... I'll edit him into the video. But ultimately, he gets you a crystal at the end of every turn, and there's quite a few different ways of getting crystals. Earth is lacking in some regards for some of them, but yeah, either way, crystals to be able to use Doga's effect. Being a Mono Earth, just keep on using Doga. Jobs are good. For Soya. So yeah, this is what I mean about not having to be in Earth, or not having to have Mono Earth forwards. So you could literally have Mono Earth backups, but I mean, through Katshi, Shantoto, and Tyro, you can already you've got 3 backups that can generate any element, which is really good. Katshi does require you to be on damage 3, but still that's probably going to happen at some point. And then you've also got stuff like Kimari and Ursula. Ursula? Not Ursula. I've forgotten her name now. Charlotta, sorry. So there's, different means of being able to generate aside from the fact that you don't need Rikku. But regardless, let's say you got 5 backups down with Rikku, you can play all 5 of those backups to play Fusoya to then get every single one of his effects. Draw a card, choose someone who breaks down into your hand, character your opponent controls to his own hand, and choose one forward, put it on top of its owner's deck. So yeah, a lot of really effective effects there. But yeah, like I say, you don't have to limit yourself to only Earth forwards when you start doing fun like this. Pain. So maybe you just want to stop Rikku from being nuked from the face of the planet with summons, so have Pain on the field. Now obviously you don't have ability proof, only summons with Pain, but still that's one thing taken out which your opponent's going to struggle to deal with, and basically means that your opponent has to deal with Pain before dealing with Rikku, potentially anyway. Cactuar. Have all your backups down, just pay any element whatever you want. I mean, literally only one of the CP has to be Earth just to fulfill Cactuar's Earth effect. But yeah, you can pay literally 4 different elements with only Earth backups using Rikku and Cactuar. Now, the thing is, Rikku here, again, for something like Cactuar, you don't really have to have Rikku down on the field. You could literally just have Tyro and Shantoto or Katshi and just pay 2 Earth and then 2 of anything else, and you're good to go, to be honest. But having something like Une on the field as well is really, really good, because then obviously Une... I mean, nobody needs to be told about the effectiveness of Une, right? Dull to then to get a summon back from your break zone is disgustingly good. And it's every turn getting back Cactuar to then keep on casting Cactuar and keep on breaking stuff. Ugh, disgusting. Melvian. So this is a bit of fun. So, like I said, again, you can just play forwards of literally any element. Once you get all your backups down and you can pay for anything, to start playing forwards of any element. So, yeah, obviously you could warp Melvian if you really wanted to, or just play him straight onto the field, get 2 backups back, and freeze out 2 of your opponent's backups, and then also get a card back to your hand through Riku's effect. But what's also fun is the fact that Melvian, obviously when he is put from the field into the break zone, you can remove him from the game and then warp him back in 2 turns later, which then, obviously when he comes back in, if Rikku is still there, you get a card back to hand. So it's another means of being able to play multi-elements onto the field without having to play them onto the field or cast them onto the field. Onion Knight, similar sort of thing here. So when Onion Knight dies, you can pay the 1 to go and search yourself another Onion Knight and play that onto the field. If it's a multi-element Onion Knight, then again you get to get a card back to hand. And this is fun because you can also do that on your opponent's turn, because Rikku doesn't have a restriction on the turn that you get to get that forward back. So let's say you block with this Onion Knight, it dies, you pay the 1, you go search another of this Onion Knight, bring it onto the field, break it damaged forward, and then also get get an Earth forward back from your break zone at the same time with Rikku. And then this Onion Knight works similarly as well. So when this Onion Knight dies, you get to play an Onion Knight from your hand onto the field. Now, it's a shame that Rikku doesn't get you just a multi-element forward or just a forward back from your break zone, because then you could literally just keep on cycling Onion Knight into Onion Knight and just keep it going forever. But alas, it doesn't work that way. I mean, Rikku would be a bit broken if she could get you any forward. So being able to play this Onion Knight into or any other Onion Knight, to be fair, provided it's multi-element, again, you're getting forwards back to your hand, and it's utilizing an effect which can happen on your opponent's turn as well. Sephiroth, back attack, and when you're in multi-element mono Earth, your opponent literally has to consider every possibility, and Sephiroth's a horrible card, so they attack with a horrible forward. You just play Sephi onto the field, break it, then they've got to contend with him the following turn as well. And you know, it works even better when you've got stuff like Al-Bhed or Zeramus on the field, which again you could play if you really wanted to. I've said this before, but you can effectively now play a deck have your backups mono Earth, and provided you've got some sort of consistency there, then just have your forwards of a different element, because you just keep on playing the same elements anyway, so is what it is. Obviously, most of the time you want to be Earth something, but you could be Earth Ice, and then also throw in stuff like Sephiroth, stuff like Zeramus, where you can pay that additional 1 or 2 lightning because you're multi-element. Zezat. Yeah, I mean, good old-fashioned Zezat. He can obviously deal bits of damage to things. I'm not sure if I prefer... I mean, I do prefer the Terror over Zezat, because Zezat will generally always require more investment to be able to kill things, but he can also become bigger as well and can hopefully stick around a bit longer. But 9 times out of 10, Terror will be more likely to kill things, because at most you've played Terror onto the field and then you pay 4 from your backups and Dull Terror to kill something, which is an outright break, whereas Zezat, at best, you have to pay an Earth and an Ice or Lightning to then be able to probably kill something really small, which probably wasn't worth it anyway. But he also has the activation ability as well, which is really, really nice. So it might be a case of, I don't know, have Warrior Light on the field, you attack with him, you dull him, deal 5k something, reactivate him with Zezat, dull him again to deal further 5k something. So, you know, it's nice additional ways of finding utility behind Zezat's activation, which in, again, Mono Earth, or whatever you're playing, could be a lot of fun. And that's it, folks. Like I said, a relatively short one today, but I just wanted to kind of address Rikku, because she's a fun card which you can do lots of stuff with. And Mono Earth in general has some really fun potential, because, like I said, you can play so many different forwards just out of random elements. And yeah, I've had so many deck ideas running around my head recently about how you can utilize just the mono element effect and just completely blindside your opponent with so many stupid ideas. Like, just you can run so many summons that your opponent will not consider. You block with a forward, they then do something, and you're like, okay, I'm going to Bismarck, I'm going to half your forward's power. You know, in Mono Earth, no one's going to expect stuff like that. It's hilarious fun. And what's also good, and I didn't really mention about this as well, is the fact that you can be kind of running stuff like, let's go with Onion Knight, play him onto the field through his effect, and then you can free cast something like Leviathan. Now, obviously, the planets would have to align for you to having those cards at the same time, but still, it could happen. It could be quite funny. And especially if you're in Mono Earth, your opponent probably won't consider it. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think of these sorts of things, and, you know, what stupid cards would you put into this to try and blindside your opponent using Mono Earth. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, guys. Stay safe, be lucky, and I'll see you in the next video.